Dove giudico ce l'hanno?
Non riesce. Én mezzo. Vai ti, dico la che. Vejo che c'è, mi puoi che. Vai là, che ti. Vai ti gas. Go gonna get, but no, deep spot. Because go forward again. Last year, that was business. Today, could I, why not? But we got the spot, but we could I, you know, the eye, you did give us the one gonna get, but I hope.
Oh. Roll call. Very good. Proceed.
Yeah, Black Lodge.
Rogers, Black Lodge.
Stewart, Black Lodge.
Hill, Center Lodge.
Bergeron, Center Lodge.
Kayakers, Reno.
No meat lunch grass this time.
Girl one. Last breath.
Alden Bigor.
Hooker Run, Big
Spotted Horse, Bighorn.
Hug, Zero Creek. Good luck, mighty few.
Stewart, Mighty Few. Real Bird, Mighty Few.
Oh, cross was in check. Duke said he'd be a few minutes late. He had a meeting with the 107 over in Prague. Okay, at this time, after discussion with the executive, there are some issues that need to be brought forth. Immediately due to time constraints on some grants. This grant in particular is with the transit bus. Right now, we need a motion on the floor to amend the agenda to bring it forth out of new business. Motion made by Conrad Stewart, second by Eric Bergenground. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? All abstained? 16-0-0. Okay, at this time, this was in the infrastructure committee chair, Conrad Stewart. You have someone to present the bill. You want the executive?
I believe the bill, or was Alvin here? Oh. Bill's here. He can go ahead and proceed.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chairman, and officials, members of the body, and guests. This is a joint action resolution of the Crow Tribal Legislature and the Crow Tribal Executive Branch entitled, quote, Resolution approving the Crow Tribe's limited waiver of sovereign immunity in the Montana Department of Transportation grant contract for purchase of a transit bus.
Need a motion to adopt by Bryce Huggs, second by Conrad Stewart. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will read the original as introduced, JAR, into the record, and we did have some minor changes as a result of the committee meeting. Whereas the Montana Department of Transportation Planning Division has been allocated grant monies from the Federal Transit Administration and desires to assist the Crow Nation Transit Program. And whereas the Montana Department of Transportation has prepared the attached Section 5311 Capital Grant Contract number 107571, the Transit Grant Contract, for distributing funds to the Crow Tribe, which is attached here to and incorporated by reference. And whereas the $62,413.79 in funds distributed pursuant to the Transit Grant Contract will be used by the Crow Tribe for the purchase of a 2012 19-passenger bus from the Mineral County Hospital, subject to the Crow Tribe providing matching funds in the amount of $9,674.21, the tribal match. And whereas The state of Montana has by statute waived its sovereign immunity from suit for contract actions and disputes arising under the agreement. C, MCA Title 18, Chapter 1, Part 4. And the transit grant contract requires the Crow Tribe agree that the state may enforce the contract by litigation in the First Judicial District Court of the state of Montana, Lewis and Clark County. And whereas the chairman of the executive branch has authority and responsibility pursuant to the enumerated powers in Article 4, Section 3 of the Constitution and bylaws of the Crow Tribe and Indians to represent the Crow Tribe in negotiations with federal, state, and local governments and other agencies, corporations, associations, or individuals in matters of welfare affecting the Crow Tribe, and to, quote, negotiate and approve limited waivers of sovereign immunity when such a waiver is necessary for business purposes in accordance with Article 5, Section 2F of the Constitution. And whereas the legislative branch has authority and responsibility pursuant to its powers and duties in Article 5, Section 2F of the Constitution to grant final approval or disapproval of limited waivers of sovereign immunity by the executive branch when waivers are necessary for business purposes. And whereas the chairman of the executive branch has negotiated the terms of the limited waiver of the Crow Tribe sovereign immunity as set forth in Article 2 of the transit grant contract, receiving the funding provided by the transit grant contract is in the best interest of the Crow Tribe, and the limited waiver of sovereign immunity is necessary for the business purpose of entering into the transit grant contract. Now therefore be it resolved by the Crow Tribal Legislature and the Crow Tribal Executive Branch, Section 1, that the limited waiver of sovereign immunity in the form set forth in the Montana Department of Transportation, quote, Section 5311, capital contract number 107571, unquote, attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, is hereby approved. Section 2, that all written reports and any related information required to be produced to any state of Montana agency or subdivision pursuant to the transit grant contract shall be copied and delivered to the Secretary of the Legislature at the same time any such report is produced to the state. Section 3, that the approval granted herein is effective on the date of approval of this resolution.
Okay, now you have 30 minutes. As proponent of the bill, 30 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, with Elvin's concurrence, I'll just give a quick legal overview and maybe turn it over to him for the description of the bus and things like that. In the original grant contract, which I think is in your packet here, when legal reviewed it, we noticed that it would have had what we would consider an implied waiver of sovereign immunity because it allows for that controversy arising from this contract may result in litigation. Arbitration is not available. This contract shall be governed by Montana law. And also we read that in the event of litigation concerning this agreement, venue shall be in the First Judicial District of the state of Montana, Lewis and Clark County. Now, that nowhere there does it say that Crow Tribe hereby grants is limited waiver of sovereign immunity. Courts have held it's supposed to be unequivocal and express. However, the courts have also held, including the Supreme Court, that when the tribe enters into an agreement, especially if they have the assistance of legal counsel doing it, and they agree to to some dispute resolution system that ends up in some court, they may very well interpret that as a waiver of sovereign immunity. So our recommendations from the legal office are to go ahead and make it an express limited waiver and then discuss the actual waiver with the state or with the granting agency to make it clear as to what the extent of the tribe's exposure might be, and to then obtain the legislature's approval before we impliedly open up the tribe to a suit in some other court in the unlikely event that they would ever have to enforce this contract against us. So that's what was done after this was introduced. We had meetings with the transit director, cabinet head, and his view was we needed to do this right and come to the legislature for approval, and the state needed to just wait for us to get that all done. And we very much appreciate and respect that viewpoint. We did meet then with the committee. I'll let the committee chair summarize the results of that meeting. But as a result of the discussions on clarifying a couple items in the grant, they ended up waiving the $9,700 that the tribe would have had to pay. So this is a free bus, or that no dollar cost to the tribe. And they adopted the standard limited waiver language that has been contained in at least 2 other approved contracts with the state, whereby rather than being subject only to Montana law, the contract can be interpreted according to state, federal, and tribal law, and any litigation, if necessary for enforcement, is in a court of competent jurisdiction rather than being in state district court in Helena only. So with that legal review, I would turn it over to Alvin Harfrey to just discuss, let you know what the bus is about and what the plans are for it. And I think it's all, it has some further good news for the committee and everybody on the shape of the condition of the bus and all that sort of thing. So thank you very much.
Floor recognizes Alvin Humphrey.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning. The bus is a 454 diesel. It has 24 seats. That includes the driver. And the mileage on it is less than 30,000 on it. Fairly new bus. It's been waiting for it since November, actually. But Bill said we found that discrepancy in the contract and we wanted to do the right thing, especially when it comes to our sovereign rights. But anyway, this bus is going to help with one of our routes. One of our routes is completely filled up most of the time. So as we continue on with this program, we get more riders. So that means we'd have to increase our fleet to bigger buses. And I guess if you have any questions on the bus, I'd like to answer them.
That would be during debate. Right now, it's just proponents just speaking on behalf of your legislation.
All right, well, that's about all I got on the bus there. I appreciate you approving the contract. Thank you.
Any more proponents? Floor recognizes Vice Chairman Dana Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body. I appreciate you guys supporting this. It's a good thing. It provides a good service to our tribal members, especially in outlying communities. Wyola, Pryor provides a pretty reasonable transportation mode to Crow. Like a lot of people work, they ride transit to and from work, goes to Billings, and then if they make an appointment like 24 hours in advance, you know, like they could take them to Billings to like a doctor's appointment, or take them grocery shopping, or just, you know, even I think you could probably take them on a run to parking if the conditions were right. But you know, it does provide a good service at a really reasonable rate. Elders and I think people like Janice are free. So we appreciate your support in this legislation. Thank you.
Oh, any more proponents? Okay, moving on. This legislation was in the Infrastructure Committee, Chair Conrad Stewart. At this time, we will need a recommendation from the committee.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, Vice Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Executive, members of the body, we had a meeting on 10:37 a.m. March 31st, and
at that time, we had two items on the agenda, water code and the transit. And upon meeting on the transit, we did have some recommendations here, and I believe there is gonna be a substitute version. The changes were gonna be made in the third and fourth whereas match has been made in court of competent jurisdiction issues. And the changes, the second changes were gonna be in, I believe, the attachment